For now, I don't see that happening here to break out of that correction phase, to flip it back to the upside and creating here the doji candle. At these current prices, I would just keep buying more. We find ourselves again at the same levels for Bitcoin that we have seen just a week ago. And of course, our portfolios are bleeding here once again. And everyone is asking themselves, when will we get our push to the upside? Is this push actually coming? And what's going to happen next here? Will we see another downwards move over an extended period? I can tell you as much as to tell you this is just a massive trap. There is one chart that will convince you that this is just a blip on the bigger picture. Let's go. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in here. I want to jump in directly into LDO here on a BYBIT. Unfortunately, I forgot to log in, but this is fine. So Lido had a massive correction here to the downside yesterday. I'm not really worried about that. Let me explain you why. Because it might have been partially again about the SEC FUD, that the SEC is going after LDO. LDO overall is a really good project and is providing a lot of liquidity to the Ethereum ecosystem, and at these current prices I will just keep buying more, and I will also show you a chart later why I keep actually buying at these levels. And full transparency, I'm still holding my trade is underwater, but just if you also want to trade and get right now into an LDO position, go to BYBIT, sign up there, claim $30,000 worth of bonuses. You find a link here in the description, because BYBIT will be now my main exchange where I mostly trade all my altcoins. So go and check that out. Now let's go straight into Bitcoin. Actually, not Bitcoin. Let's start with the dollar index. Here, something really confusing is happening, but it will make sense later when I show you that one chart that I'm talking about. So make sure that you stick around here until the end. The dollar index finally broke down out of this rising wedge pattern here, and that is of course good for us, because when the dollar index is going down, crypto usually gets up. But now we see here that we are getting here a small bounce and creating here the doji candle, which will lead to continuation to the downside if we would close the candle as it is. I don't expect to see a reversal candle to the upside, creating a Morningstar pattern and then continue to go higher here. Usually when we are breaking out, especially in terms of from where we broke down, that is the sweet spot for a rising wedge. Highly unlikely that the dollar index will come back and pump to the upside, and rather continue its trajectory to the downside. So it might have something to do with tomorrow being the 4th of July, people cashing out a little bit because it's holidays tomorrow. Who knows? But I'm not really concerned about that, and I expect after tomorrow, because tomorrow is a holiday, on Friday to see the dollar index dropping further to the downside. Let me go here to the open interest on CoinGlass, because here on this chart with all these indicators, I see here something really interesting, and that is that this whole downwards move, was driven by leverage. And let me show you how I know that. So you see here, we kind of topped out. Open interest was here also at the peak. Then leverage decreased. The open interest decreased because a lot of shorts closed their position in the sideways move. And you see also that leverage did not increase here, just went sideways. But spot was picking up, so we did get spot bids that were buying at these levels here in that sideways move of anticipation of getting continuation to the upside. What happened when Bitcoin started to tumble downwards here is that open interest increased again, because people were now starting to short again this downwards move, and also spot started to sell, while the leverage overall still chopped around here sideways. So that showed me that this was short sellers kicking the can down the road and then picked up by spot sellers pushing it further down. But I'm not really concerned. Again, I'm not concerned about that. So on the weekly chart, we need to hold the 25 moving average We are right now slightly below that, but we have over 4 days to reclaim that indicator. Once we are seeing here reclaim, I think next week's candle or the candle after that, like in 2 weeks, we're gonna get finally our breakout out of this handle and this parallel downward sloping channel, with a nice pop to the upside, back in direction of $70,000. Let's talk about some bearish signs here in the chart. For once here on the 4-hourly chart, the EMA ribbon was not able to flip here back to the upside because price action failed to stay above and rather broke below it and went a little bit lower. And there's a reason for that. I also am going to get into that in a moment. Now we have punished all the late traders that came here for long positions and had over leveraged positions. They got all liquidated. You see here below us is still not a lot of liquidity left to drive the price lower, and all the liquidity is up here. That is again an indication that it doesn't make sense to see prices go much lower and rather reverse it to the upside and see this here as a massive bear trap basically. And that's the way I'm also seeing it. So of course we need to come back here quite quickly to reclaim the 50 moving average and continue the trajectory and flip the EMA ribbon. But just give it a couple of days. I think we will be definitely fine here because, like I said, the imminent targets here to the upside are still remaining to be $65,000 and $66,000. Also here on the 24-hour liquidation heat map, so now I'm going to refresh it. Here, the hottest areas are still around $62,600 over the last 24 hours. And you see here below us, okay, we can go down to $60,250, but there it actually might stop and we are getting a bounce back to like 61,500, short squeeze 62,200, and then touching here 62,600. From there we might see a small rejection before we get a continuation to the upside. Then on the correction side, we are still in that correction cycle. This is getting dragged out longer and longer. The longer we are in there, the more volatile will be the breakout to the upside at one point. Again, I'm using here one of the MDX ALGO indicators. I'm using here the trend progression, and I warned you yesterday that if we are not able to come quickly above that downwards trending red ribbon, that we're gonna see a rejection and we'll come back down and test the downward sloping trend line. And this is exactly what we are doing right now. Again, if you want to use these indicators, they're really helpful. As you can see, there's also a link down below. There you find a link to MDX Algo. Definitely check that out. It helped me to save so much money because I saw things that I otherwise would have not seen. And of course, I made also a lot of money the other way around because of stuff that I previously was not able to see immediately. And these indicators are helping with that. So now, still same scenario. We need to get here a break above this downward sloping red ribbon that is marking the downwards trend. Only when we are reversing that, we have a chance here to break out of that correction phase. Now, one of the reasons why we actually went down, and I had warned about this yesterday, yesterday I told you guys over the last 2 days, I actually told you, even since Sunday, Monday, so the last 2 days, I told you guys, if we get a CME gap and price opens above the Friday close, which happened, expect the CME gap to get closed rather sooner than later. But if it's not happening by Wednesday evening, most likely we are not getting a close and Bitcoin will just continue to go to the upside. Now we close the CME gap. Also here is no reason why we should see prices again sub $60,000 because we closed the CME gap. It's done and dusted. What happens from here is most of the time a reversal back to the upside. And that's what I'm looking out for. So maybe, so this is a 4-hourly chart. In 10 minutes, we start something like a doji candle. And then in another 4 hours, we potentially get a reversal. And then we have, again, a Morningstar pattern reversal to the upside. So look out for that. And also, don't forget, I told you guys, these are the levels when we are breaking here to the downside from that CME gap where I'm opening positions. So here, there, all here on these levels, I have opened Bitcoin positions right now for that reversal back to the upside. So if we drop even down to $60,200, I buy there again a little bit more. So I will only cut this position if we drop under $58,000. So and I have to mention, I'm not trading with a lot of leverage. I use 10x leverage. That's more than enough. And my liquidation price is at like $56,000, $55,000, something like that. So I'm not really worried about that. And again, if you want to trade these kind of trades and set them up with me together, you can do this, for example, on Margex or on Weeks. They have both no KYC. The only difference is on Weeks you get right now a $20,000 sign-up bonus. So go and check that out, because I don't know how long this is going to last. So then here also another fake out, in my opinion, really easy to spot. The only thing that's a little bit concerning for me is that we have flipped the Chandelier exit indicator here again into a downtrend with the sell tag, but also these kind of things can sometimes create fake outs, and that would be the case if now the Bitcoin price comes really quickly back, breaks above that red line here at $62,500. At that point we would flip back here into a buy tag. The indicators overall have all bottomed here on the 4-hourly chart. The RSI is getting pretty slightly now oversold, which is good. The stochastic is already oversold. The MACD is bearish here, bearish momentum. So, but again, I don't think this is lasting. Worst case scenario, we get one quick flush and then it's time to go back to the upside. And here you see again why I told you guys I don't like premature breakouts out of these ascending triangles, because if they happen too early, we get exactly what we are seeing here right now in terms of price action, that we come back into the ascending triangle and then break to the downside, create a deviation here, come back, and only then get the proper breakout, if we get a proper breakout. So, but I'm quite confident that this is going to happen. The chart that I wanted to show you and why I believe that this is just a huge trap here and we needed to speak urgently about this is when I look here at the Bitcoin chart, and at the same time use the global net liquidity index, because something happened here that caught my eye, and that is that the global net liquidity has formed a bottom here, and every time when we form a bottom and the liquidity increases again, Bitcoin goes on a rampage move to the upside. So let me show that to you. Liquidity on the bottom, crypto slightly moved up here. Then again in September same year, we hit a local bottom, then we went on a massive bull run. Then again, here in 2022, in December, we hit a bottom, Bitcoin started to rally. Once again, then slightly after in March 2023, the same thing. Local bottom, global net liquidity, Bitcoin started to run to the upside. Then here, last year, September, once again, global net liquidity bottomed out, massive run into 70K to the upside. Now we are again at a bottom where I expect liquidity to increase and go to the upside. So why do I believe that net liquidity will break it to the upside? Really easy, because we are about to get a rate cut this year. And because of the rate cut, liquidity in the global markets will increase, and that will lead again to a price explosion across all risk on assets, and that includes Bitcoin. So now this happened here on a daily chart. Give it 4 or 5 days and you are going to see here a move in direction, let's say, to 25 what is that, trillion dollars? Yes, 25 trillion dollars. Yes, to 25 trillion dollars. In my opinion. So that's why I'm not really concerned. So fake out based on the CME gap, just to recap, net liquidity at a local bottom, indicators oversold while Bitcoin is creating a deviation to the downside. not really something to worry about, but we needed to speak about that so that you know how to trade here accordingly to it, because these current levels are really, really good levels where potentially you get the last chance to buy Bitcoin around the $60,000 mark before we will continue to go to the upside. Now, again, could there be a quick flush to the downside? Yes. If we are getting it, buy as much as you can, because it will not last really long. And of course, guys, also, again, if you want to use any of these platforms and the MDX Algo suite, go under my video in the description. There you find all the links, and also in the pinned comment, guys. Don't forget about that. Now, in terms of Bitcoin dominance, we are still moving it to the downside, but also price at the same time moves to the downside for Bitcoin. And that means also altcoins are selling off. They're not having a great day today overall. But if you look just back 3 days ago, between 3 days ago and today, most of the coins are actually still up. So just on it, between yesterday and today, they took a small hit, but this is absolutely fine. I'm not concerned about that. And remember, I pointed out kind of that scenario. I still believe that we are getting here another bounce to the upside. Might be a little bit lower. We might actually get something like this here right now. So this is absolutely fine if that kind of trajectory plays out, because that would still put us somewhere by the end of July to the point where we should see a small rally in altcoins to the upside. So now, something else that I was looking at, which told me that we are still absolutely fine at current price levels, is that there is not a lot of leverage in the market right now overall, because the funding rates are still super, super cool. Look here, I go to like mine here, 53% APR, and look at this. This is all green. This is like more green than my garden in Thailand, you know. So than my grass, you know. So here's even something blue, you know. So on ton, you get actually paid right now for holding a ton trade if you go long here. So it's insane, you know. So here's absolutely no leverage. That just shows you that there's so much potential to go into the upside. It's insane, guys. It's insane. So, and that is another point that I wanted to make here, that buying altcoins right now might be really, really smart. So, and for example, Solana. I told you guys yesterday I would expect some struggle to break the 0.5 level, and I would potentially take a little bit of profit here if you would have taken the trade that I gave you a couple days ago. I hope you did that, because we basically touched it and got immediately rejected from this level. Back to the downward sloping trend line that I also mentioned to you, that if we come back there, here I would potentially re-enter or add to my positions for the next move to the upside into the golden ratio to $165 and potentially to the next level here of $176. So even though on the daily we are looking a little bit bearish in terms of indicators, but if you go into the lower time frames, things look a little bit different, especially on the 4-hourly. So here on the 4-hourly, we want already to turn around on the RSI, make the not really concerning with what I'm seeing here right now, even though here's a small sell signal, and the stochastic RSI is bottoming out here right now. So in the next 4 hours, we are potentially getting here a bounce of the downward sloping trend line that we are seeing, and moving potentially back to to the 0.5 level on the Fibonacci extensions here, the $156 price level. Ethereum is looking like it's a little bit in trouble right now, because we have lost this major white resistance area, support resistance flip area. Also, we lost now the golden ratio, at least in the short term. Am I super, super concerned about that? Not yet. I will be concerned if we lose one of these two lows here. So if price moves below these two lows, then you can get a little bit concerned, because this is $3,200. Most likely we move then to the next lower level here to 3,130. For now, I don't see that happening. We got rejected. So here was just too much resistance, you know, around the golden pocket on the Fibonacci retracements. Then here, the support resistance flip area. that was giving us resistance, and a downward sloping trend line, resistance line, that also gave us resistance. So here what is major resistance, so hence Ethereum needs a little bit more sideways consolidation below these levels to gain momentum and to break here to the upside. LDO, because I know some of you guys are on LDO. Here is why I'm not concerned about that, because LDO is also here in a symmetrical triangle or in a pennant, and as long as we are not breaking below $1.55, I would still keep accumulating. So if we drop below $1.55, then like at like $1.49, I gonna call it and get out of my position. So, but anything in between, and here just with a retest of the upward sloping support, I would add to my positions, or if you got stopped out, I would re-enter here, and I would keep adding to my positions in that green area. And my first target would be $2.29. That remains the same, because the indicators are all telling me here on the daily chart that we are gearing up for a move to the upside. Because stochastic on the bottom, only MACD is still super bearish here, but also RSI chopping sideways. Give it another couple of days and we should get a proper reversal to the upside. And guys, that's already for today's update. I hope you enjoyed it. Just be patient here, sit on your hands if you don't know what to do, and otherwise keep accumulating whatever you can. Thank you so much, and don't forget, smash up the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you then again tomorrow.